Yeah, HVAC. It checks all the boxes, for what I need to keep my mind where it needs to be. Personally, if I made a mistake, I want to know where I messed up at, and so I don't do it again, and I can learn from it.
Hola, what's up, everybody? My name's Adrian Garcia. Welcome and welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast, brought to you by Jobber, my favorite CRM. If you guys need to get organized, better manage your business, Jobber is a perfect app for that. It's on your phone, it's on your tablet, it's on your computer, anywhere you have internet access, and you can invoice, quote, do your maintenance agreements, schedule jobs, get this customer hub where you can interact with your customers, send out reminders. It does so much for your business to help you free up your time at the end of the day. So if you guys want a free trial and discount, you can go to getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. Then we have VETO Pro Pack. I cannot tell you how many bags that I went through before finding out about this company with these high quality bags. Ever since I switched over, my bags have lasted so much more. I love the variety and the different uses for these bags. I mean, you can get creative with it. So like I said, go check out VetoProPack.com. Go look for a bag for yourself. Right now they're having a spring promo. It's basically buy one, get one free. So take advantage of that. You won't regret it. Now, if you guys are listening to this on audio podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to it, please leave a 5-star review. I would really appreciate that. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment this video if you enjoyed it. And I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. I really love doing this. Great way to meet and talk to a lot of these guys, get their stories out. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in and making this what it is. On today's episode, we have Jesus, also known as 918.HVACR. Now, if you've been on Instagram for a good while, he's one of the OG, ones that would post over there, a lot of really cool photos and stuff like that. He has since moved over to TikTok because he really enjoyed a lot of the videos that he took at work, and he'll explain as to why he did that. But yeah, he does heavy commercial, so it's a lot of RTUs, really big tonnage, supermarket type refrigeration. That's what I've known him for, is like all the rack systems and really big, walk-in boxes and, like I said, RTUs. But he goes into depth on his service calls, step-by-step things that he troubleshoots, finds. He even has a video of a little bit of a fireball blow up. Go check it out. You have to watch that one on TikTok. And yeah, he shows everything. Really cool dude, really smart on troubleshooting and fixing things. I can appreciate that. Go check him out on his social media. I'll leave all his links in the description. Now enjoy the episode. All right, man. How are you? How's life?
Good. Been busy. Got a lot going on with the family. Got a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, so yeah, they keep me busy.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I can imagine just being in the HVAC trade and then having little ones. Because I remember when mine were little, dude. It's like you're trying to be there for them. You got all this going on. Obviously, like you said, 4 and 1.
Yeah.
So like you're still new to the whole parent thing. Like all that's kind of a lot to take in. I've been there. Mine's 10 now.
Yeah. That's been pretty much my biggest battle since having kids, is trying to find that balance between being there for them and getting the overtime enough to be able to splurge and do all that fun stuff.
Yeah, put foot on the table and then take your kids out and do everything that they want to do. I've been there, man.
That's been the hardest thing, because with HVAC, it's extremely demanding. They want you available pretty much 24/7.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is a demanding trade for sure. So you're central, and I remember because right now I see your screen name 918HVACR. You're from the Oklahoma area, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma. Yeah.
Is it hot over there? Because you're kind of like in line with me. I'm in Texas.
Yeah, Oklahoma's it's pretty interesting because we get weeks in the winter where we get, minus 5, to or down to minus
Oh, it
10,
does
and
get
then
that cold?
yeah, we get
Oh,
well below freezing in the winter and then 110 in the summer. So Oklahoma's,
no, you
I
get
think, pretty
everything.
unique. Yeah,
Yeah, you
we
get
get
everything because like over here, I think the lowest we've ever gotten is like 20. Like I know that's probably nothing to you guys, but we got 20, but like I'm in the South Texas area, so like
mm,
just super hot. Like in the middle Texas, kind of northern, I guess closer to you guys, they do get like under and freezing and constant like winter.
yeah,
That's
the
that's a
60s is like our spring or fall temps, which I mean, heck, it's still spring and we're already, getting up to 85, 89. So we're warming
yeah,
up a little bit, but
I was gonna say we're 80s right now, but it's been real weird. We got like I guess because we're due for some rain. We got some rain finally. It's been real cloudy, real windy, so like it's kind of nice right now, but it is very humid over here where I'm at. So like it doesn't feel great all the time.
yeah, we're dealing with the same thing. We actually just had tornadoes last night, so we got the wind and rain and storms. Yeah, it's pretty heavy right now.
Are you like in a area that gets that a lot? Like are you like is there tornado watches all the time?
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, so like in my area, I don't know if it's a normal thing everywhere else, but like every Wednesday we get tornado sirens just on the regular every Wednesday, 12 o'clock. That's
Every
how
now and
often
then,
we get them.
yeah, every
Yeah,
now and
less
then
than
we get a
weekly.
tornado watch, but I know it's never gonna get to us because I'm so far down south. What I have to worry about more is hurricanes. So we have hurricane season over here a couple times a year just because we're so close to the coast.
Yeah, I think I
But
prefer the tornadoes. I mean, really, they're not too bad. They're not too bad at here. We get the warnings and we get the really crazy wind. Like last year, our tornado picked up my kids' trampoline, threw across the yard. Their play set ended up across the yard. I mean, it got windy, but it never got,
yeah,
crazy. Oh, well, it did destroy my roof, but I was due for a new roof anyway. But
yeah, might as well.
hurricane just
Um,
seems a lot more destructive.
it's just a crap ton of rain. That's the hardest part when it's like a week just full of hard rain or something like that.
Mhm.
Because we get that's what we get mostly. We do get the high winds and all that. Like I had just put up, it was like a little fenced off area for the dogs, and I tarped it off. I had it all covered, nice for him. If it rains outside, I normally keep him inside, but like when he's outside, there's a nice little fenced off area. I forgot it because I made it just because of how windy it gets in the hurricane season and all that. I made the tarp removable, right? Like I don't
Okay.
want that thing tearing up, blowing off, all that stuff. Well, I forgot to remove it one time, and the damn doghouse ended up in the neighbor's yard. And then we had to go over there and hoist it back over. I'm like, damn it, dude. So we've had that where like stuff is just flying around.
Yeah.
Trees are knocked over. Like it gets pretty bad here during hurricane season, but I guess the most annoying part is just the constant rain because I hate when it floods.
Yeah, and we get flooded here as well in the spring pretty bad. I mean, I think it was a couple years ago. It completely flooded pretty much our entire city because the Arkansas River runs through it, and it completely
Mm.
overflowed like almost a mile inward. And back then, I was doing residential, and I was doing nothing but going to calls and telling them, "Sorry, we can't do nothing. Your ducts are completely full of water, and we really
Oh,
all
is
we can
everything
do."
in the basement
No, it's slab for
or
the most part. Yeah. In my area, everything's the ducts are in the slab or they're up in the attic. And so really that was their only option was we can pull the coil and suck all the water out, but it's probably going to fill back up again because the rain hasn't stopped, or we can put ducts up in the attic.
oh
But
man,
yeah.
see, I didn't even think about that. Like around here, we everything here is in the attic.
Hmm.
I've never dealt with because I doing this, I talk to a lot of people like Florida and stuff like that. They have a lot of them in the garage, like the AC systems. I've never seen that around here. Everything is in the
Really?
attic or in a closet. And I never thought about that kind of stuff when it floods or anything like that. Like the people that have to deal with it that's on ground level or anything underneath basements. I'm like, oh shit, that's a whole different story there.
Yeah, we get it all, dude. I mean, I don't do any residential now, but when I did, I mean, we did, units in basements, garages, hallways, attics, outside, wherever, it,
Yeah,
a
I
little bit
guess
of
you all
everything, really.
see. Yeah, y'all see everything. I was like, I only see one type of thing here. Like I said, the attics, and then like everything here is electric heat. We moved away from gas like a while ago, and I know
Really?
people up north like that's what they do. Like they do a lot of gas, a lot of boilers. It's just stuff that I'm not used to.
Yeah, the boilers here are pretty much in our old part of town. So where
Okay.
we call it the old money. They got houses that are like prehistoric but worth of millions. They got the boilers and stuff like that, and gotten to work on those a couple times. But yeah, we do primarily gas unless you go out of our city, then it starts going propane, electric, heat pump, geos. Even if you go up towards our lake, it's nothing but geos.
I guess here everybody wanted the incentive for going electric, which I have to bring up every time that our grid sucks. So like they want us to go electric. I've seen everybody convert, and then they want us to do the electric vehicles, all that. And I'm like, how our power goes out so many times? Like it's hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally prefer gas. I mean, if you had to hook up a generator, you're only working on powering a blower in the heating season, versus powering a bank of heat strips. I don't think a generator would really keep up. I mean, unless you got a good enough one, but one that you just
No,
hook
yeah,
up Harbor Freight wouldn't do it.
yeah, no. I was like, we have a decent one, and that's what sucks because like obviously having gas and stuff, you can still like make food and heat your home and all that stuff. But um, somebody from or Curtis from the HVAC nights that I do the show with, he just got one in, and that thing came on a pallet, and it was probably almost as tall as him. So he has a huge generator that can output I don't know how much. And I was like, dude, I can't wait to see that in for him to try it out, because I'm like, I wonder what you can power with that, because he told me the amperage
Yeah.
and the volts, and it was a crazy amount. I was like, that might be a cool thing to have, but I didn't ask him how much it was.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've even looked into the smaller ones, and I'm like, golly, that's
Yeah, they're
I mean, they're
pricey.
not cheap. Yeah, even for the small ones, which I'm gonna
And
be getting because we do lose power. In the spring and fall usually is our
yeah, we
worst
got
seasons.
one. We got one not too long ago, and I've been meaning to hook it up to the breaker box and do all that, so just in case. But we haven't had to use it recently. The power only goes out a few hours or overnight. Um, but yeah, like when I was looking into them, like like even the really small ones that you think are affordable, they can't really do much. So you got to make sure you get like a decent one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're just doing a furnace, really, just it's like what, like 3 amps on a blower. So at least for the critical thing to heat up your house.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't get too bad around here. It's mainly for like the refrigerator, the freezer,
Mhm. Yeah,
food not going bad. Our AC, it's like, oh, just like I said, crack open the window or the door.
yeah, for sure.
This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free. Do you guys know who the inventors of the fluorescent leak detection is? Trusted and used by many manufacturers for over 70 years. SPECTROLINE leak detection, the highest quality and brightest fluorescent leak detection products on the market. Get the job done right with their 2-in-1 premium UV dye and powerful AC sealant Glow Seal. I've actually used it. You can extend the lifespan of your equipment, find and seal the smallest and hardest to find leaks. It works 24/7. Once it's in, it's always on. This product works when you're not there. The only focused leak detection company with success in many industries, because believe it or not, it's in most vehicles out on the road right now. So if you guys want to find out more, go to SPECTROLINE.com and let me know what your favorite leak detection method is. So you do, from what I can tell, you do a lot of refrigeration, like heavy. I would consider heavy commercial. You do supermarket too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Is that primarily what you do? Is the refrigeration side, or you do both, or you still do HVAC?
So the company I'm with tries to focus on just refrigeration. But some contracts we get, they require that we do to get the refrigeration. We have to do their HVAC as well, and you know we're their main contract. So we do the maintenances on them as well, and everything
Okay.
else. So that's a lot of my HVAC work is the customers that we want their refrigeration work, but we got to do their HVAC as well.
Okay.
But
That's
yeah, I
kind of
mean,
how we run too, because I'm considered a commercial refrigeration guy, or like a light commercial,
mhm,
and we're a kitchen company, right? My dad does the hot side, all the cooking equipment, and then I came in and did the refrigeration side. If they ask us to do the AC, that's when I do it, right? And
mhm.
like it's kind of like how I guess your business or your company does it. It's like we want your kitchen work, but we'll go ahead and do the AC while we're there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we try to stay mainly on the refrigeration side. Ideally, we want to be, all supermarkets, but we're new to the, Oklahoma area. So right now we kind of just take what we can get as far as clientele goes.
How how long has that company been there then?
In Oklahoma, I think just over 3 years, which I mean I hopped on with them shortly after they started. So
Okay, that was my next question. How long have you been with them? So,
yeah.
did you grow up in Oklahoma, or are you from there?
Yes and no. So I was born here in Oklahoma, and then I spent the first maybe three-ish years in Mexico, and then I came back pretty much around time, start school.
Yeah, so you have family over there?
Yeah, I got a lot. Well, like, half my family's here in Oklahoma, and the other half is in
Mhm.
Mexico. My
Oh,
grandparents
okay.
just pretty much seasonally, they'll do like 6 months here, 6 months there, and they just alternate between going
Oh,
back
they
and
still
forth.
go back and forth?
Yeah, yeah, because they got a
I
they got a farm out in Mexico, and they just can't let it go.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say I haven't been over there in a long time because I have family from there. My grandparents, some of my uncles and aunts. Uh, no, one uncle was born over there, but my grandparents and all that are from there. And then most of them are here in Texas now. Now they have traveled. They've been to California, up and down, and then they settled in Texas. But we used to go over a lot. I just haven't wanted to in a while. But they don't have a property over there or anything. It's just like we would go visit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably been, I'd say probably 12 years since I've been as well. It's yeah, like ever since pretty much my grandparents started visiting, I really had no reason to go. I mean,
Okay.
the reason I would go was to go and see them, and then they started coming down here, every year. So we just stopped going.
Well, I live right on the border, so it wasn't hard to go over. Just to drive down the street, cross over, and come back.
Oh,
So
you're that close?
yeah, man, I'm here in well, South Texas, so I'm basically like by the tip at the bottom because I'm by the ocean, but I'm also right across Mexico.
Mm,
So well, that's what I'm saying. I used to go over or with my family, like just to enjoy Mexico, be over there, and good food, good times. It's just it hasn't been the same for a while, so I just
yeah,
don't want to just. I'd rather not risk being over there too much. And
yeah. So my grandpa's farm is right on the border as well in Baja California. I mean, it's
okay,
his property line ends where the U.S. and Mexico border pretty much meet. The only thing
okay,
that splits them up is a small little like river, and we used to swim in that river all the time. And the last time we went, there was sandbags in the river and people hanging out that were a little suspicious. And my grandpa's like, "Yeah,
yeah,
probably not good for you guys to be back over here anymore."
yeah. It's
So,
not well, everything I think is not what it used to be.
exactly.
You got to be cautious even over here in out in public and stuff. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, 100%.
So how long have you been in the trades? I know you said you just started with that company, but how long have you been in the trade?
So I went to tech school in 2015, and I had a job before I even came out of tech school. So I'd say probably
Did they help you
2016.
get a job, or was that something you got lined up?
No, it was something I went out on my own to do.
Okay.
My instructor helped a few people get a job, but I was one of the few that had to work full time and go to HVAC school. So I didn't seem so, giddy to be in school every morning. So I didn't get quite the help. I was still a good student, did all my work, got good grades and stuff, but maybe I didn't show as much enthusiasm as the rest. So I didn't get any
I
help. I went out,
I was the same
found
way.
it.
Yeah, I was the same way, but I was working for my dad as a helper on the kitchen stuff, right? And I was going to school too. Now, it was more lenient with me because I work for my dad. I understand that, but I was tired when I went to school, right? And I was like, oh man, like I wasn't as enthusiastic, like you said, as others. There was guys there that were like super gung ho and excited, and
Yeah.
dare I say, teacher's pet, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just there,
Yeah.
like I'll do what I need to do. I really focused, like you said, good grades, do the work, do everything right. But like my personality was not like, yeah, I'm excited to be here, but get it done.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what happened with me. And the thing that I didn't like was at tech school, when they did help you get jobs, they pushed with relationships they already had, and they pretty much were with companies that were looking for apprentice installers.
Oh
And
yeah.
I just knew I didn't want to be an installer. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. I applied a bunch of places, and I got lucky enough to get on with one of the biggest, well, the biggest company in Tulsa, and they took a chance on us because realistically before they were only hiring from the college, not the
Oh,
tech
okay.
schools. And so me and one other guy were the first ones that got hired from that tech school, and we did good enough that that's all they hired from now was from that tech school. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now they are looking for that, or from the tech school. So is there a college that offers HVAC too?
Yeah, so here in Oklahoma, they have what's called OSU, and they do. I think it's a 2 year, and you come out with like a degree and an HVAC. You pretty much you come out as a journeyman, which is why a lot of the companies would try to go for them because you just hire a journeyman. You don't have to worry about paying for their time as an apprentice and all that. You just boom.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I say they took the chance because we come out green. Only thing we've had is 9 months of schooling and an orange card, apprenticeship card. So,
Okay, so things
but
are a little bit different over there because I have. I mean, I guess I don't think we have as many licenses or things down here because it was we can register to be an HVAC tech, and it's just a fee. Like, there's no experience needed or anything like that. It's not until you want to go to your license that you need like the 4 years and all that to get a license. So I got mine really quick just because I already got the 4 years. I got two, or I don't know if it's a year and a half or 2 years because of college, because I went to college and got my degree and all that for HVAC. And then I just had to go right along with somebody for the other year and a half or 2 years. And that's how I got mine. But over there, you guys have the journeyman and all this other stuff attached to that.
yeah, so like starting out, you got to do what's called like an apprenticeship. But to even get your apprenticeship card, you have to be like almost like vetted by a contractor, and they have to sign off for you pretty much on your application
Oh,
and
okay.
say that you've done a certain amount of time and whatnot. And then you're supposed to do, I think, a full year. No, it's 2 full years as an apprentice, or I forget the years because I
Yeah,
got
I
lucky in that.
forget too.
I think maybe it's 3 years if I understand correctly. But since we went to tech school, they knocked off 2 years, so I only had to do 1 year in the field, um, and then you can pretty much qualify to take your journeyman test. And that test is like a monitored test. You got to go to a specific building, and they pretty much
Oh
just
wow.
do it a
Yeah,
full
we
on.
don't have that part. We have our registration, which I said is just a fee to
Mhm.
do the work or work for somebody. And then we have obviously the EPA. And then after that, you just, if you want to get your contractor's license, that's what you go after.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
little,
no,
I guess
they're
it's a
they're
little stricter over there.
yeah, it's a little strict. It's a little strict, and like for the contractors, that's a whole different thing. Like you could be a journeyman, but you still aren't able to do solo work. Really, you still have to
Yeah.
be under a contractor, pretty much.
How many years is that then? Was that 2014 or 2015?
2015, so I think it's I don't know my math, 8 or 9 years, something like that. I started early. I
Yeah.
started right at pretty much a year out of high school. I went to tech school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
I took a year off just because I was done with school.
Yeah.
and I was not looking forward to going to college. And then it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do because I try to go for like I've always been interested in fixing things, taking apart things. So my dad does kitchen work. I guess I just never looked into it or not. I'm still not super interested on that side of the our business, but I went for electrical engineering because that was the closest thing I could think of.
Yeah.
At least at a university because that's where I started at. And then my dad needed a refrigeration guy, right? Because he's like, I do the kitchen stuff. You get that competition when because we do mostly restaurants, right? If he's
Hmm.
there working on a stove or something, and then like they call a guy for the walk-in box or something, like that company might do the kitchen work too, because that's pretty common around
Hmm.
here.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I need somebody to do refrigeration. I was like, you know what? That sounds a little bit more interesting. Let me go do that. And that's when I went to
Yeah.
school and got into it, and I loved it right from the rip.
Yeah. My startup was pretty similar. I took a year off, and in that year, I was pretty much just waiting tables because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew it was going to be mechanical. When I was in high school, I did, I think, 2 years of, well, I did 1 year of machining in school, like tech school, and I liked it, but really wasn't 100% my thing. Then I did 2 years of automotive and liked it, but I figured out I only liked working on my cars, and that's it. And so I didn't really pursue
Yeah,
that too
same.
much. And so took that year off, and finally I don't know, I was up late at night. I did a little, Google search on what suits me best because, I loved fixing things, but I don't know, the being a mechanic part just didn't really, fill my cup very much. And so I put in everything. I like customer service. I like doing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and HVAC came up, and I was like, what the heck is that? So
Oh, so you didn't know what that was either? Because like a lot of people don't.
no,
I didn't either.
no, obviously I knew what an air conditioner was, but I didn't really think of that as a trade or anything like that. So I just did a YouTube search and watched a few YouTube videos, and I was like, okay, cool. Signed up for the tech program the next day, and you know, that
Yeah,
was
it's
it
like
from
a
there.
whole other world that you don't know about. Because everybody obviously knows that they need air conditioning. Everybody knows, like, whether it's in their car, in their home. We're always we always have a air conditioner or a heater, some sort of HVAC, that we deal with, but we never think, or like growing up, you don't think like that's a career or that's what I want to do or that like that's interesting, right?
Yeah,
Which is what I hope, and I do see a little bit of a change now, which is what I hope like guys that are on like yourself is on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, that I hope that there's more awareness because like I've seen kids now that are like, oh, they're getting into the HVAC trade. Some of them even in high school, but like right after high school, they jump into it, and I'm like, cool. I wish I had that head start because like I said, I took a year off. I was out there trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to do. Got into like a couple of different majors, and then finally switched over. And then like by that time, I had already lost a few years. So I hope
yeah,
there's more awareness now.
yeah. I agree. I've noticed a big change because whereas before, coworker wise, I was the youngest guy there, and it was nothing but 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, guys getting ready to retire.
Oh yeah.
And before I left, the last company I was with, it was kind of split down the middle between the young guys and the old guys. So it's
Yeah, it's
definitely
crazy.
definitely pivoted.
It's crazy, and I had to deal with that too when I started. I was always the youngest guy there, and I think honestly I was only in there because my dad or my parents brought that to my attention, right? Right, like why don't you do refrigeration or HVAC? And I don't know where I would have been if I hadn't made that switch or gone after it like that. And I love what I do now. It's very like I don't know. It keeps me busy. I can't sit still. Keeps my mind working on something like that. That's what I love about it. Like assessing your situation, problem solving, all that stuff.
Yeah, HVAC, it checks all the boxes, for what I need to keep my mind where it needs to be. It definitely checks all the boxes,
Yeah, and
electrical, plumbing.
Yeah, and like you
everything.
said, you went in and searched for this, and it's kind of like you got to check all the boxes because you were like looking for something. So, I mean, that's really cool. What do you guys do when you don't have enough wires to run that fancy new Wi-Fi thermostat? Well, you can turn to FastStat. They have these wire extenders that'll help you save time and money where it's almost impossible to run brand new thermostat wiring. Common Maker, it provides a common connection for Wi-Fi thermostats, and it can provide any of the R, C, and W connections, even with a 2-wire thermostat, which is pretty mind-blowing. So if you need any additional control wire, you can get functions such as Y1 and 2, W1 and 2, G, OB, etc. They have different models depending on what you need. There's no batteries, no programming required. It's not wireless or anything. It just plugs into the existing wires. If you have 2 wires or any amount available to you and you need more, all FastStat models come with a free replacement lifetime warranty. They really believe in their product. You can find these at any supply house. Just ask for the FastStat. I'll leave all the information in the description, and you can go to faststat.com. That's fast-stat.com to find out more. I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. If I go look at my van, like half of the stuff, including parts, is from a DIVERSITECH branch. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out DIVERSITECH.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC. So you started in residential then. Was that company just residential the whole way through?
No. So they do residential, commercial, and refrigeration. So that's where I started. I literally just worked my way up. Started as an apprentice.
Okay.
And then within like a few months, I guess I did good enough. I got in a van. Wasn't technically supposed to be in a van, but I was in a van. I guess for reasons you got to be like 21, but I was like 19. Or like, you're good enough. So got in a van, started doing PMs, worked enough hours to get my journeymans, and then only a few months as a journeyman went into commercial, and then eventually said I want to do refrigeration. So I got into refrigeration there, and then I probably hung out there for about 5 years, and then I've been here with.
Okay, so you got to do everything. You got to do everything over there too.
I had more variety over there because I ended up being one of they've got a good group of guys there that just do it all. So I got to work on boilers, smaller chillers, nothing crazy, but smaller chillers, rooftop units and refrigeration unit, really everything.
Yeah, it's good when you can get the variety, get that under your belt experience wise, all that stuff. Did you grow up, so like you didn't grow up around the trades or anything, did you? Did you not have any like parents in it, anything like that?
No, man, I had no idea. It's funny because I was thinking back and I was like, did I ever see an HVAC guy? And I started thinking back and I didn't even know it, but I did have a HVAC guy go to our house one time. I had no clue who this stranger was going through my garage and stuff. But other than that, I had like no signs of any mechanical background in my life, really. I just knew that I liked working with my hands because, as a kid, I'd always, it was nothing but, take my bike apart and do little
Oh yeah,
repairs here and there and just always trying to do something with my hands. And so I just knew I
that's what
needed
I
to do
was.
something with that.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people. I'm like, I wasn't like a kid genius or anything. I would assemble things. I would take things apart, try to fix them. Like you said, it could be like a bike. It could be, I used to fix all the electronics around the house. I actually got into electronic repair before I got into HVAC. Cause like that year that I took off, I got really into smartphones and fixing them, fixing screens and little issues with them. And I made some side money on that for a while, going to school and then doing phone repairs after hours. And I made a killing. I made a
I did the
killing
same
doing that.
thing.
You
I
do
did the
that
same
too?
thing around well, not anymore, but
Yeah.
around high school time, I did the same thing. I just wanted to try everything. So broke a phone, tried to fix it. It worked great. And then after that, everybody in the family and friends,
Yeah,
I really
because
wouldn't even charge them anything though. I guess I probably should have.
yeah, my dad would break his phone constantly. I'm like, sure, I'll fix it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I did a lot of like screen repairs or little issues that they had, and then like for a while, I did advertise it, and I made some side money, but it was like for other people,
Yeah.
and like unlocking phones for carriers. Like I did all that. I dove into it a lot. So I've always liked that kind of stuff, and then like I got into HVAC. I left that behind because this is like a whole different thing. Like we're like we talked about earlier, it's like a balance because you're especially doing refrigeration. I'm sure you understand. Like that's a lot of work that comes, and it's 24/7 sometimes. Like you work a lot.
Yeah. I've been pretty lucky that, at least right now, since we're not so big on our area, the on call hasn't been so bad. But I think I'm also a little bit numb to it because, the last company I worked at was so demanding on call. It's pretty much just, like on weekends, you'd have 16 guys working on a Saturday,
Oh
on
yeah.
call. So I got, used to that. So coming here, really the on call doesn't seem so bad. You're not on call as often. You do have, the crazier hours you get called at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, but the frequency is not as much. You're not doing as much calls.
So it hasn't been that bad, at
No.
least for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
because
not in my area really.
because I do refrigeration for restaurants. I used to do like IHOPs and Stripes and stuff. That stuff sucked because they always try to call in the middle of the night. But yeah, I was working over the weekend, and I was texting one of the guys that I talked to, and he's like, "You're working at this hour?" It was like midnight or something, and I'm
Yeah,
like, "Yeah." I was like, I normally don't have those calls anymore because we try to put everybody on maintenance. We try to kind of take care of everything during the week.
yeah,
So I haven't been working weekends too much anymore. Like we got it under control because before it really sucked. And yeah, I was like, man, I had to go out there because like they gave me the option to go Monday because they called on a Friday like at 4 or something.
yeah,
They gave me the option to go on Monday because it was the AC that wasn't working. Uh, but I was like, you know what? I'm booked next week because it's already getting warm.
yeah,
I got change outs, I got compressors, I got a lot of stuff that's coming up as far as like other like ice machine maintenance and stuff like that. I was like, I can't waste a day here. I was like, let me just go out there and I'll take care of it. And I think it was actually after 4. I think it was after 5. And I was like, whatever, I'll go look at it. I thought it was gonna be like a gas and go situation because there was one that I knew had like a micro leak.
oh yeah,
And I tried putting that dye in here, that SPECTROLINE, and that one hasn't given me any issues. I guess it sealed it up. And
really,
when I got there, the other 2 were down. I was like, damn. So like then I had to take apart. I had one that had a fan motor give out, put the new one in, but I should have been more aware. Put it in and then it started short cycling. So like once I put the fan motor in, I realized it was low on charge. I was like, damn. So the coil was leaking, right?
yeah,
And I was like, why did I even do that? And then the other one is I think the compressor's giving out because it's overheating like right away. And I tried cleaning the coil, all this stuff. Like I had like a nightmare of a night there just trying to work on all 3. And then the one that was working, the drain was backed up. So I was like, damn it. So
yeah,
I don't normally do those anymore, but like I had a late night and I'm like, it just made me realize that I have summer coming up and it's gonna get busy again.
yeah. And it's never fun when you have multiple units going on at one time because I don't know
No,
if
and
it's
then
that we
they
can't
think it's like
focus on one
one.
thing.
Yeah, they think it's one, and then you get there and like you're like everything's down.
Yeah, I get to the point where I just try to, like, I'll touch a unit here and kind of figure out what's going on there and get it just barely running, and then I'll go
Yeah.
to another one. And but it's never it's stressful. It's always stressful doing that, especially if it's at midnight. But
I was so pissed.
yeah, yeah, I don't
Initially,
get
like
too many of those.
like I said, I thought it was like a gas and go thing because I thought it was the one that had leaked, and that one's been working fine, funny enough. But
Yeah,
I couldn't. I once I got there, I couldn't just leave. I
Yeah.
had one that the motor, you could hear it just humming. The other one was short cycling. I'm like, no, I gotta at least check them and trying to fix them. And if not, like I had to leave them. I had to shut them off while I get a price on the coil. And then the other one, I have to go back to it because that compressor does not sound good. But had I left it over the weekend, I don't know that those, compressors could have died or something could have happened that would have been worse. So I was like, at least I got here. It wasn't a fun night.
Yeah, yeah, that sucks, man. But, I think once you do it long enough, the late nights kinda just I don't know, it doesn't seem quite as bad. I mean, I get called out at 3 in the morning, and at first it's like, "Damn," and then
Yeah.
you're there, and it's, like, dead quiet, and you're like, "Alright, this ain't too bad," you know?
It's well, like my whole point with the trades, um, I feel like you have to be a certain person to be in the trade,
Yeah,
especially commercial refrigeration. Like you do a lot of I'm assuming you do a lot of like rack systems, supermarket stuff, right?
yeah,
So like that's a different beast in itself because I do the light stuff and I still get called out. I still get overwhelmed at times. But I can imagine you deal with like all sorts of sizes of equipment, right?
yeah, yeah, I mean, we pretty much there's not really much that we won't do, but with the supermarket side of it, I think the biggest, downside is, whereas you're in a walk-in cooler, you are dealing with a lot of product, and it is very important to get
Oh
out
yeah.
there. But if a rack's down, they have nowhere else to put their million, dollars worth of product, because that's their whole system. So when a rack goes down, you have to be there before. Like if they put the call in, you got to be there within a 2-hour window and no
Oh
later.
yeah.
So that's the most stressful part is, whenever you are working already and you're working on a rack and then you get a phone call and we got an emergency. We need you out there in 2 hours and the call is an hour away. It's like
Oh yeah. That was
crap.
mine. Mine was an hour away when I went to the AC one.
Yeah, yeah, that's the most stressful thing because they need you there right away, and really it doesn't almost not possible sometimes. So the stress really kicks in there.
And the that's what I tell people because people will ask me about the I guess like the differences or why I like what I do and I'll get into that kind of talk. It's like AC for the most part it can wait, right?
Hmm.
Like you can tell them just shut it off for now. I'll be there in the morning or whatnot. Like that one that I went to, they told me it could wait till Monday
Hmm.
because I don't really. It's a pizza place, so that nobody really eats in. They added dining to it, but nobody really eats there. Everybody's picking up pizza, to take home.
Right.
But the only time that I've had that emergency for the AC is when it's the lobby of like a big restaurant and they're complaining that customers are leaving because it's too hot. So like in that sense, we try to make it out. But for the most part, it's the refrigeration side that, especially during like the slow parts of the year for us, like the refrigeration is what keeps us busy. As far as like walk-in boxes, because I don't deal with supermarket or anything, but like walk-in boxes and stuff like that. Some of them only have one walk-in box or one cooler and one freezer. It's like
Hmm.
where are they going to put that stuff, right? They can't. And a
Yeah.
lot of places around here, I haven't seen them, go out and rent. Like I know they do like rentals for like the trucks that can store it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you've seen that, but a lot of times you have to be there right away because that product. And then for the most part, they don't blame us, but they could be like, if you it didn't take so long, we wouldn't have lost all that product because that's a stressful thing, like you said, but it's always on your mind the product because like refrigeration, that's their money in those coolers and freezers and all that.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part of refrigeration is the stress level because even if you're not stressing about getting it fixed, a certain amount of time, the product is always on the back of your mind. Even if you're just like de-icing a coil, you're like crap, or putting the system in a one too many defrosts or whatever, you're like, oh crap, what's going to happen to the product? When you're in grocery stores and you have cases with the doors, you worry about how many doors you're having open. Is it going to trigger an alarm? Is the product going to get soft? Because you don't always have, like in a grocery store, they don't want to pull the product all the time. You tell them, hey,
Yeah.
I need this case cleared out so that I can de-ice or whatever, and they'll just pull the bottom shelf. So now the whole time in the back of your mind, you're thinking, how long's this been down? is the ice cream going to melt? Is the food going to get soft?
Oh yeah, places that have the ice cream, that's the first thing that they'll have, or they'll point out to me. It's like, well, it's getting soft, or this and that, and then it's like ruined. And I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do, right?
Yeah, that's probably the most stressful part about it. Other than, of course, the demanding. They want you out there right then and there, regardless of the time. The only thing I've seen that it's as demanding in the HVAC side is pharmacies. They do not play about the air conditioning. If it's a pharmacy and it's anything over like 74, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I mean,
yeah, because I don't deal with pharmacies, but like there's a place that we deal with the restaurant inside, but it's like a, what do you call it? Like a teleperformance, or like one of those call centers. So like they actually have a small rack system up there, because I ran into one of the guys that was replacing the condensers, and it's funny because like the new ones were a lot smaller, but it was essentially like a rack system. There's a room up there with all the compressors, lines go up, you have those huge condensers that I'm not used to. And prior to this, they had like a sprinkler system on it, because I guess it was overheating or something. Like I didn't ask them why it gave out, but that thing was rusting out really bad, and I was like, at some point they're going to replace it. So they finally did a couple weeks ago, and I assume they have that system in there because it's a lot of computers, probably a server room or something like that. I've never worked there, but I work at the restaurant that's like inside of it.
Yeah, I used to work on a couple of those for the server rooms. They're kind of more specialized units for those, really. But yeah, they're not too bad. But yeah, I've seen the sprinkler setup all the time. Heck, I do it sometimes too. Whenever if I'm on call and I don't have the motor I need, throw a sprinkler on it and go back in the morning. Keeps the head pressure down enough.
Yeah, because like I don't see it too much on what I do, except like I watch a lot of YouTube for HVAC stuff. There's a guy, Chris Stevens, HVACR videos. So he's done that on like walk-in cooler, freezer, condensers, where he puts a sprinkler on it so he can go out the next morning and get a motor or something. Yeah, I've never done that. I've never had to do that around here, but yeah, when I saw that, I was like, man, something must be going on. And I saw that they had more and more sprinklers starting to get set up, and I'm like, at some point they're gonna have to replace this, and they finally did.
Yeah, they either had head pressure problems, or just the condenser wasn't rejecting any heat anymore.
I'm just not used to seeing that, and I'm fine where I'm at. I do restaurant work. I'm gonna stay where I'm at. I make enough. I'm good here.
Yeah.
But we're talking, and he sounded like one of those guys that's really prideful. He's telling me like all the stuff that they were doing too. We're just chit chatting, and then he started asking me like where I work, because I was just there doing maintenance, where I work and this and that. And he's like, oh crap, you work for your dad and this and that. He's like, never mind, I was gonna offer you a damn job, because we're just talking the whole time. And he's like, I need somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it is kind of hard to find people that you can actually talk to that have the same passion, pride, all that, which is why I like talking to a lot of the guys online, because around here it was a lot of old timers, and it was always like competition, because they didn't want to see you taking them over.
Yeah, I've dealt with that too. I've always been, the way I am, as far as wanting to share knowledge, happy about HVAC, sharing as much as I can about it. And I got a reality check one time when I was at a gas station. I saw like another technician, and tried to make a little small talk, and he's just like the grumpiest fucking guy. Like, why are you talking to me? And I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna leave you alone.
I had that interactions like at the supply house. So then after a while, I was like, I'm just not gonna talk to anybody, because like this is stupid, right? That's why I said it's cool that we have this online thing, because I never would have met anybody like I follow you, and you used to be like on Instagram. I don't think you've been posting there anymore, right?
No, when I was on Instagram, I did mainly like photos and stuff, and then I started kind of leaning into the Instagram stories and doing some troubleshooting stuff, and then
you moved
I
over.
like that a lot more. And so when I transitioned into TikTok, I just completely just abandoned that.
I'm a little old school. I like the pictures. What do you film on?
Just my phone.
But is it what kind of phone is it?
Oh, it's an I think it's an iPhone 13, I want to say maybe.
Oh, it's an iPhone? I was like,
Yeah.
man, those look pretty crisp. I'm old school. I like the photos and stuff. I was trying to bring that back on Instagram too. I was trying to do the photos more, but yeah, I remember seeing your stuff, and then I found you over on TikTok, and I get that from your content. You're always like showing what you found, or step by step, this showing calls basically. Um, is there a reason you started that, or just you wanted to show some stuff at work?
Well, there was a couple reasons. I originally would make these videos for my coworkers, because a lot of times I go behind
That is a
a
really
lot of guys.
common answer now that I get, but go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What would happen is I'd go behind a lot of my coworkers, and I've never been the kind of guy that likes fixing it and not letting you know where you may have missed the mark, because not because I want to bash you about it, but I personally, if I made a mistake, I want to know where I messed up at, and so I don't do it again, and I can learn from it. So I always would, show them, hey, look, this is what I found, and then eventually it just kind of turned into that, really.
And that's the funny thing, when there's people that argue with me about like certain things, right? Like they don't want to purge with nitrogen, they don't want to vacuum, they don't want to, like, the list goes on and on, from older people that don't do things, or there's even new people that learn bad habits. And it's like the common thing that they say is like, well, I've always done it like that, it always works, and this and that. I was like, it may have worked when you started it, right? Like I've tried to tell people now that HVAC refrigeration, it's forgiving. You can actually do or get a system up and running and think it's working right, even if you do a lot of bad practices, right? Like
Hmm.
it'll cool. It might not cool that well. It might not last that long. You don't know what's going to happen. So when they argue with me that they've been doing it and they've never had issues, I'm like, they probably didn't call you back. Like, you're probably not the guy that went back to service it, right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of guys only do startups, installs, and then another guy goes and does callbacks or whatever it is. So I was like, you probably weren't the person that they called back. Like, that's just a reality, right? So, and myself, I'm the kind of person that I've had to kind of find the balance of, like, because I can talk forever about HVAC, and
Yeah.
I used to go and explain to my customers like what was going on, and then they would just have this deer in the headlight look, and they're like, well, is it working or not? Like, they wouldn't want to know the whole story. So I had to find a balance in between, because like I'm the same way. And that's why I started too, because I'll look at something, I'll fix it, and I'm like, okay, I did this, this, and this. I gotta like say it out loud. I gotta talk to somebody about it. That's just how I feel about it. I think the way I describe it is, I like to nerd out about. There's a few things I can nerd out about. It's HVAC, it's electronics, because I used to do the repairs, and it's like content. Like
Yeah.
video editing, photo editing. Those are the kind of hobbies that I love to do, and that's what I love to talk about.
As far as like my videos go, I try to find a balance between being for the technician, but also not being a step by step. I don't like teaching,
I I did that
how to
too,
solve
because
a problem, you know,
yeah.
because somebody may not take it the right way, or go and interpret what you said a different way and go jack some stuff up or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
because
people just start
the
to
way
break everything you say apart.
yeah, being online, it's not easy either,
Yeah.
putting your stuff out there for everybody to watch.
Yeah.
But that's how I kind of looked at it, because there are some DIY channels and people that show like every literal step,
Yeah.
which is it's fine, I guess, right? Some people need that, but a lot of homeowners pop up in the comments and all this and that. So the way I've always tried to do it myself, which is probably similar to yours, is like I try to be a little bit general. I'm like, if you're an HVAC tech and I'm talking like the way I'm talking, you're gonna understand what I'm saying, right?
Hmm.
If you're a homeowner or somebody else and you don't understand what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, right?
Right.
Like, this is
Yeah.
this is more for my fellow technicians and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like in general, at least like on TikTok and stuff, I've done a pretty decent job because I don't really get any homeowners or DIYers. I really get a lot of technicians. I get here and there.
I
So
was gonna
just
say you get a lot of good engagement on the videos, and they're very well done, honestly.
I appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, I've been pretty happy with that. A lot of I do get a lot of like apprentices and stuff DMing me asking me for help and stuff like that, and that's when I'll go a little bit more specific and technical and stuff. But as far as like on a video, I try not to get too technical on that.
Yeah, like if somebody comes in and they genuinely have a question, like that's when I guess you'll answer, you'll break it down a little bit.
Mhm.
I get the homeowners because of all the memes that I do, and then
Oh
they'll
yeah.
jump in and they'll be like, "Oh, you guys are a ripoff," and I'm like, like it's just for fun. I don't actually go out there and charge $2,000 for a capacitor.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I get that a lot. The money thing and the funniest thing about it is I don't even know what we charge for the hour. I don't know what any of my repairs cost. I just know when I get there that says, my NTE don't go over $3,000. And I'm like, well, I've done HVAC in the past. I've done pricing in the past. I know there's no way this capacitor is going to get up to
Oh yeah.
$3,000. I just do it. I just fix it. I do whatever I need to do, and I let the office do the back end of it. So I'll get some comments, good upsell, and I'm like, I don't I do zero sales.
I started putting like a disclaimer, this is a joke or something whenever I
Yeah.
do that kind of content, and I still get people and I'm like, did you not read? Like I don't even like to sell anything.
Yeah.
I'm a repair over replace guy. So I will try everything I can to fix that unit, right? Patches, I do a lot of patch repairs.
Mhm.
For leaks, I do a lot of like changing out, just if it's just a capacitor, just change that out. Like I do a lot that I can to get the unit running. I don't even want to go and like have to get a crane, have to do all this stuff and block out a day. Like I don't want to replace. I don't want to sell anything. That's just not me. And I understand I'm leaving money on the table in that sense, but like the customer's happy, they're going to keep calling you and you're going to get that money through other calls or other work down the line. So I'm the same way.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, when it comes to certain commercial accounts, repairing it is really your best option because like our biggest accounts,
Yeah.
we'll diagnose and say, "Hey, this thing needs to be replaced," and guess what? They hire another contractor to do it. And
Oh
so
yeah,
now we
that
made
too.
$0. So yeah, the best option is to just fix it.
Yeah, there's always going to
Otherwise,
be like another company. So like whether you're, I mean, if you're screwing over a customer, at some point they're going to wise up and then call somebody else. Cause I've had that happen. Like I go behind another company because they couldn't fix a leak and they kept topping it off and this and that. Or they wanted to, I just recently had one. I kind of didn't want it. I bidded it kind of high, but somebody else wanted to replace the whole unit and I went out there and it was a bad compressor. But yeah, like it's a new customer. Like I did a bid kind of high for it because I was kind of busy. I didn't want to do it. And then I got the bid. So now I got to go back this week and finish that one. But yeah, they always look for another company if you're doing that kind of stuff where you're trying to upsell or just what I always tell people is be honest, and you can give the option of a repair of a new unit and let them decide. That way they feel comfortable or they feel like they came to that conclusion themselves. So that's the way I always do it. Like the one that I have coming up with the coil that leaked. I mean, they could use a new unit, but are they going to do that? No. It's just if they want to get the coil, I'll get the coil.
yeah, I definitely think it's different like that on the commercial side. Like our customers, they have their service account and they have their install account. So if we condemn a system, it
Yeah, and
goes to a different guy.
I would assume in supermarkets or anything like heavy commercial, it must be a pain in the ass to even replace some of that equipment. So like they're trying to hold on to it as long as they can, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like one of our customers specifically, they hold on to them until they're ready to replace everything on the roof, and then they do
Oh,
it all at
okay.
once. So yeah, I mean,
Dang.
sometimes yeah, replacement or sales and not even an option. When I did do residential and we tracked our sales and stuff like that, I did really good. Mo- you know, revenue wise,
Yeah.
but I did really good revenue wise by outworking everybody, not by selling things. I was doing multiple compressors every day, doing this, doing that,
Oh,
big
okay.
repairs. I was constantly doing big repairs, and I wasn't, doing any upselling. I never sold any like UV lights or, all that other stuff.
I know a lot of people that do residential, and even when I see people post about sales or like that they're top of their company and all that, I don't know, it feels weird. It feels like dirty. It's not what I would want to do.
Yeah, I always did good on that end of things because, my repairs would always be very like in depth. So I wouldn't just go and change the blower. I'd be like, hey, this blower went out because the coil was dirty and this and this and that. We need to do a pull the coil and clean it and yada
Yeah.
yada yada. And revenue wise, that ticket would be high, but I never would sell them something they didn't need. You know what I mean? It was never
Yeah,
to get the number up.
it's like in my head, I don't want to call back, right? So like that's the worst thing because your reputation is a lot. So like I would look further down the line and make sure that nothing else caused it, or hey, we got a plugged up coil or something else that messed up that unit or that messed up the part.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where the value comes in, and if you're, doing residential and you're changing capacitors, you need to know that you need to add value to that part that a customer can get for $20. And how do you do that? You just go out there, troubleshoot the system, hook up your gauges, wash the system out, and do a full diagnosis on that system. And that way, the customer knows you're not going to have a breakdown 2 or 3 weeks
Yeah.
down the line. You know,
Yeah,
if you just
callbacks
change
are
the
the worst.
capacitor and go, then there's really no value to that. There's no reason to charge $200 for that.
I mean, I touched on it earlier. Like you have to be a certain person to be in this trade. I have no issue being on the roof for several hours, right? If I need to
Yeah.
take my time, I will take my time. I'm trying to be smarter about it now as I try to have the umbrella. I try to have the right gear. I'm try to be covered. The sun would always beat me up when I was
Yeah.
a younger tech. So like I kind of wised up to kind of cover myself because I can be out there for hours. And it's not always about being in a rush or anything like that. Like you have your steps, you have your diagnosis, you have your procedures. Just do it right and get the job done, and then you won't have to worry about a callback or anything like that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the same way. I've recently started, it sounds crazy, but long sleeves in the summer, at least they're the shirts that are moisture wicking and stuff, but long
Yeah,
sleeves in the summer and, a long brim hat, cover yourself from the sun. And I
it
mean, it
helps.
makes it so much better. You can be up on the roof so much longer. And of course, staying hydrated.
I do the arm sleeve, like the ones I can remove. Like I have some that I slide on,
Yeah.
just because I don't know. I feel like I get claustrophobic with actual long sleeve shirt the whole day. I've just
Yeah.
never been used to it. I've been like a short sleeve or cut sleeve kind of guy, and that helped me a lot. Covering up, as long as you can cover up your skin. I try to wear gloves the whole day, and
Yeah.
like you said, the wide brim hat makes a world of a difference. A lot of the guys need to realize that, right? Because you're out there dying in the sun and the heat. If you just take care of yourself, you can beat the heat.
Yeah. And take breaks. I think that's a lot of people struggle to do is just take breaks every few hours, sit down, have a cold water and get your energy back up.
Yeah, just even if it's like a 5-10 minute break, just, and sometimes you need that because you're so deep into a system, right? The bigger it is, the more wires, everything now is electronic. You might not be able to diagnose it within the first 20-30 minutes. You might need a while
Yeah.
to go through everything. So just take a break, because then you clear your mind too. I've had that plenty of times where I get overwhelmed with a system that I've never seen before, but if I have enough time, I can figure it out. But like, step back, take a few minutes, relax a little bit, because you'll get overwhelmed real quick. I have the leak dye as my emergency kit. I have bubbles. I have I switched over to the field piece leak detector, and it's been working good for me. Like I have the electronic one too. So I think the only other one I wanted to try was like the ultrasonic or whatever it is, the one that picks up the sound.
Oh yeah, I've seen those lately, and I've been interested in them, but I don't know.
Yeah, like I think it's one of those that you have to learn how to use, because like it honestly, it's like a microphone. It just picks up everything. So you kind of have to get used to like what I guess what a leak sounds like versus like ambient noise. But the one I don't understand is the bubbles, right? There's a fluorescent bubble solution that you spray, right? I don't
Yeah.
understand that one. Like, why
Yeah,
do
I
you
don't
need
either.
it to be fluorescent?
Yeah, I was actually having that conversation with the tech last week because I was on actually the video I did where I was changing out the liquid level sensor probe, and I went with another tech then a couple days later for another issue, and there was just UV dye everywhere. I was like, what is this?
Yeah,
Turn around and there's a bottle of that, UV leaked. I'm like, what is the point in this? Like,
that was
I
my
don't get
question
it.
too. I had the same exact thing happen.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, you're going to see a bubble regardless. I don't think you need a UV light to, to spot a bubble. So I don't know.
I think somebody told me it was the consistency, and I'm like, okay, like you want a thicker bubble or whatever it is, but that still doesn't justify the UV part of it, or the fluorescent. Because I went up to one that was a walk-in cooler, and the leak wasn't even in the condenser, but the condenser was covered in green. Like they must have just done it, and then I got called out because I guess they couldn't find it. And at first I got like scared because I'm like, did everything, like I thought it was a dye in the
Yeah.
system. So I was like, did everything leak? But I was like, no, this can't be. So then I started looking for the leak and stuff because I started checking everywhere it was green. I started like putting my own. I used a big blue one, and I was like, okay, nothing's leaking. So then I went down to the evaporator, and it ended up being like the TXV joint. And I was like, what the hell? Or what? No, it's a distributor, the one that comes
Oh
out
yeah.
when you get all the distributor lines. That always ends up leaking for me on these older walk-ins and stuff.
Yeah.
And I
Same
was
here.
like, what was the point of making them? And they didn't even clean it. That was my biggest gripe, right? If you're gonna do a repair or like a leak check, especially with the UV or fluorescent bubbles, please just wipe it down at least for the next guy. Like,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. It's always been one of my biggest things is if you are using bubbles, wipe them down because they'll attract that dirt and debris when they dry up, and then eventually it does look like a leak too.
So we talked about school and stuff. I went to school too. You went to what was yours? 9 months?
Yeah, 9 months. It was a 9 month course, but it was like
Did
a
you
full time. So I would
did you feel
do.
like you learned quite a bit there?
I think I learned what was necessary. I didn't come out of school ready for the field work, but
Yeah.
the theory. I think honestly, I think tech school is worth it if you get what you need out of it, which is the theory. Refrigeration theory, because it's really hard to pick that up when you're in the field because most of the time the guy who's training you is not really going to have the patience to draw
Yeah.
you out the map and explain how the cycle goes and all that stuff and teach you every part of your meter and all that. They're going to teach you how to infield stuff. When you see this is what you do. When you see this, you do that.
Yeah.
And so you don't really get the whys and the background of stuff. So I do think it's important.
Yeah, and that's when I went, I got thrown into the field kind of quick after, but I the way I describe it too is like you're just gonna get your basics. You're gonna understand all the terms, all the like the lingo, how to hook up your gauges, how to check with your meter. That's what you're going for. I
Hmm.
guess if you have your expectations right, you're not gonna come out of school like fixing stuff. Like you're just gonna be able to like hook up your gauges, know what to check for as far as voltage. Because even that, I struggled with that in school for a while. Like I kept asking them, like, where do I turn my dial on the meter? Like I was new to all that. So like
Yeah.
had I been like that in the field, I know they would have got so annoyed with me real quick. So you're going for your basics and just to understand the terms and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, there was just to put in perspective, I started with training with like some real old school techs, mainly one guy, but I remember one time I was checking a capacitor and I put it on ohms and I was like, what the heck, what do I do? And he treated me pretty freaking stupid for just setting the meter in the wrong way. And I'm like, dude, that's such a simple thing to just explain to somebody. So I don't know. Personally, every time I train somebody, I try to make sure they fully understand what it is they're needing to know and explain it properly because Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not going to come out of school knowing everything there is to know about HVAC.
No, and you struggle those first few years anyway.
Pretty much from the beginning, I've been training, apprentices and such. At my last company, I always had an apprentice I was training. And then I did a little bit of extra training there as well. And now I'm in a like training role. I'm the trainer for Oklahoma at my company. So I've always done some
Oh,
kind
that's
of
cool.
training.
I mean, some people like to get into the trade right away if they're, and I say go for it. If you're mechanically inclined, if you can work, a meter, you can work with your hands, like it's fine. You can learn on the job. But school and learning on the job are still very similar. It depends on the person. Like, are you going to be paying attention? Are you going to be learning? Are you going to have a good teacher? Because that's the other thing, right? Like you said, a lot of us had old timers who didn't have the time of day to teach us, or got frustrated with people. Like, it depends on who you learn from. So like whether you need a school setting, and the books, that's one way to do it. If you can find a good mentor, I mean, that's also a good way to do it, because they're different, but they're kind of the same. Either way, you have to learn and take in as much as you can, like soak it in, um, from whoever's teaching you. The only difference is, like, you go to school, you might get a quiz, you might get a test, right? It's all book stuff, or they'll show you how to do something in the field, whether that's like pumping down a system, troubleshooting, whatever it is, charging a system. In the field, it's a little different, because your test over there is like, did I blow something up, or or how long did it take you? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. I guess I should have said like technical school. I've heard of some people paying like upwards of $20,000 for it. I
Oh
don't think
yeah.
it's worth that much. I did my technical school for like a couple $1,000s. Like, it was almost nothing really. That to me
Okay.
is worth it, because in the field you're not really gonna learn a PT chart. You're not gonna learn, thermodynamics and all this other stuff. That kind of stuff definitely needs to be learned in a classroom, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're gonna learn in the field, how to pump down a system correctly. You're gonna learn how to, check capacitors and all this other stuff.
Like
That's
real
field stuff.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, real world stuff is a little different, because you're gonna have to know how to fix it, or what to look for out in the field, because like refrigeration is all about losing product. If you're doing residential, you're in somebody's house, so you got to do it in a timely manner.
Yeah.
So all that stuff is in the field, like you said, all the book stuff. That's just you knowing how things work, the terms, superheat, subcool. Like, you're gonna learn all this stuff. That way, when you're in the field, at least somebody can maybe walk you through it, or you can ask, tech support, stuff like that. The more you know, the better. That's just like what school is for. And I did the same thing. I went to a community college, which ended up being they're a full blown college now, but it was a community college, and I didn't pay that much either. And then I had financial aid, so like it didn't cost me too much. But yes, I mean, that's a good thing to clarify. The ones that are like ridiculous, like 20 grand, whatever it is, like, no way. Just get into find somebody who will take you on as an apprentice, or learn. Or I've had a bunch that ask me if they can ride along for free. Like, there are people that might help you. I run a business, so I just don't want to be liable for that. We don't offer
Yeah.
that or anything, but like, you might find somebody, or if you have a relative or anything like that, that can like maybe take you along for like a simple call or anything like that. That's the way you learn, if you don't want to go to school.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, like you said earlier too, if you get a mentor, I didn't have necessarily like per se a mentor, but I did ride with the senior tech for what seemed like most of my apprenticeship, really almost every single day, because he had his pick of the litter. So every morning he'd say, you're coming with me. And it just got to
Okay.
the point where I would just walk in the building. Here's the keys, and I'd go load up the truck with all the parts, and we'd take off. And I think the most important thing is knowing what to get, what bits of information and habits to pick up from different technicians.
Yeah.
From him, he was a really old school guy. I mean, he used to work on, boilers and chillers in hospitals all the time. So there wasn't nothing he wouldn't be able to fix. I remember you know, we had I think it was at like a hospital as well or something like that. I don't remember where it was, but some other company installed this equipment. They couldn't get any of them running, and he's just went to the job site, looked at it, and he's like, "All right, let's go." Hopped in the truck, went and printed out sheets of, you know, essentially the book for that unit, and we just sat in the room reading, reading, reading. And then he's like, "All right, cool." So he went to the unit, flipped some dip switches. At the time, I didn't even know what dip switches was. You know, he's just, it looked like magic to me. He just went, flipped some switches, and boom, and everything comes on. And I'm like, dang, you know, all right, read the manual. You know, that's what cemented with, you know, reading the manual. And that's what I do every time I walk up on a unit I don't know. Look up the
Yeah.
manual. It's a Google search away.
Yeah, man. Well, there's no excuse nowadays. I think everything's online, but that's a good instance of a situation where you needed the manual for that kind of stuff. Like some techs don't go that far. They try to like mess with it. I've run into so many things where like they do something that's way out of line, whether it's like adding refrigerant when it was like a completely different problem, or like I said, a lot of stuff now is electronic, so you got to keep that in mind. Like, is everything else working the way it's supposed to? Is it set right? You know, all that kind of stuff. Because I run into, you know, bad programming before and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like read the manual. That was one thing that I always tried to do. I used to get embarrassed that I had to do it on the job site, but like I was there trying to look up a manual as well. It might have taken me a while back in the day because it was when smartphones are still new, but
Yeah.
might have taken a while to download. But I you know, I eventually got it, and that's the easiest way. Like if you want to learn something, like everything has a manual, everything has a troubleshooting guide now. Like there's so much you can do if you just look up the literature.
Yeah. I mean, I got pretty comfortable with pulling up the manual because like I mentioned earlier, I used to go behind a lot of technicians. So when I would go, it wasn't the first visit. And so
Oh
the
yeah,
customer would see me looking up the manual. They're like, "Well, what's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, look, your problem is not something simple. It's already been looked at. I got to make sure everything is in order according to the manual, and we go through everything top to bottom, make sure, you know, we figure this out." And yeah, I mean, it got to the point where anytime it wasn't something as simple as, you know, superheat and subcooling issue or whatever, just pull the manual, you know, read through it,
yeah.
and it almost would get you there every time.
You'll find a lot of interesting little things that you might overlook, just right there in the manual. Like it'll tell you what to do in situations.
If you don't have the manual, then I mean, you definitely need to be good at your superheat subcool. I mean, I had a call, yeah, like I think it was Monday. Another company had been out and said that, well, first they said the unit was low on refrigerant, and then they said it was installed incorrectly. And so then they called us out, and I go out there and I'm like, okay, so I said it was low on refrigerant, and now they're saying it's installed incorrectly. What's really going on? They're like, oh, immediately they said, well, it freezes in the summer and it overheats in the winter. I was like, okay. Immediately I knew it was a ductwork issue, so I popped the cover
Mm.
off the RTU, looked down, and the plenum is completely collapsed and on the return side. And I'm like, well, simple as that. You know, there's not much to that. If you had just looked at your pressures and saw you had a low suction and a low superheat, you would have known airflow.
Yeah, airflow is important, and you know you can't jump to conclusions because like I said, I've had so many that end up being overcharged because of situations like that. They see a low suction and they just add refrigerant. And I had a
Yeah,
guy that
incidentally, that unit was
go ahead.
actually overcharged as well when I got done with it. We had to pull 2 pounds out of it. So, yeah,
I was gonna say because I've even had guys that work for me, and I have to get them out of the there. It's a lot of it is habits. Like, what did you learn from people? Like you said, you got to weed out the bad habits when you are working under somebody. And I mean, even if they are the best technician at their company, whatever, like learn what you can. Maybe fact check what they tell you. Sometimes, you know, look up on your own time, buy manuals. There's a lot of YouTube, you know, stuff like that. So I've had guys that come in and all they would do was check the low side, and
oh my God.
it got me so frustrated because I ended up going back to their calls because they would overcharge a system, right? And we had bad airflow or something else going on. And I'm like, if you would just, if you're going to check pressures, check both. I need to know what our condensing temperature is. I need to know if they're both low, if the suction is low, the head's high. Like I need to know all these things, and also get into the mindset of temperatures. I don't like pressure readings. I don't like, oh, I got 60 psi. I don't care what is the temperature here, and then what is your condensing, right? What is your ambient? Like you got a whole big picture there. Just take your time and hook up right.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I pretty much always preach temperatures, and I think it has to do with having to do with so many different refrigerants that
I know
a 60 psi could mean many different things depending on what you're working on.
And then like another instance where like the psis might be a little deceiving is like I had to deal with the switch from R22 to other refrigerants. I can tell when a system has been mixed because of the whole drop-in marketing that they used, and everybody was like, oh, drop-in refrigerant means I can just dump it in on top of the R22. And I've had a lot that might look right on the psi, but the temperatures are not right, and it's not cooling. So seen that plenty of times. Seen where a guy's pumping in refrigerant, and then I'm like, hook up your high side, and then they see that the high side just is like incredibly high, and we got to plug a restriction somewhere or something like that. So like there's always a big picture type of deal, and you can't do, at least on stuff like that, you can't do the shortcut. You can't just check suction or anything like that. I appreciate you for coming on the show, man, and taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. You got some little ones running around. You got your refrigeration there. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Everybody watching, listening, I appreciate you guys for coming out. See you guys next time.
See ya.